The Massena Chamber of Commerce Car and Truck Show is sponsored in part by Dairy Queen, 85 Parker Avenue, Massena. Mosier's Custom Trim Shop offers you experience, expert attention to detail, and a staff of professional restylers ready to make your vehicle look new again. Beautify your boat with new canvas or a new canvas for your convertible. Get your car, truck, or van ready for the show with a new paint job. Tunnel covers, soft or hard. Pinstriping, glass tinting, or a powered rear window for the truck owners. Or how about a new sunroof? Business people and campers, how about a new awning prepared and installed by our professionals? Handicapped accessories including wheelchair lifts. Antique car lovers, Rick specializes in complete restoration of your old gems. Everything from body, upholstery, and dash. Old is new again. Call Rick Mosier today and make an appointment to discuss your dream vehicle. Mosier's Custom Trim Shop, Route 56, Massena. We are at the first annual Car and Truck Show. The Massena Chamber of Commerce first annual Car and Truck Show, and well, as we look around, the weather hasn't been too good to us, but it's just a slight mist out there, and Gert Jerkovich joins me. And Gert, you know how I'm a big racing fanatic, but when it comes right down to it and looking at classic cars, these are gems.
They really are. There's some cars from my era. It's just wonderful to see them all, and really, we have quite a few cars out here. Classic, antique, hot rods, all kinds of cars. So we're thrilled. Yes, the weather could be better, but you know what? It hasn't been a downpour. It's just a mist, and we've been able to deal with it, and it's kind of off and on, and it keeps looking like it's going to clear up. So we're thrilled. It's really nice.
Yeah, it hasn't discouraged a lot of people from coming out, which is really the best part of this. As you get a look at some of the beautiful trophies they're going to be handing out later in the judging. And maybe I know we have a lot of local people that are representing cars here, but did we get any people from across in Canada to come over and have a few cars here too, as well as trucks, I should say?
Yes, we did get a few from Canada, and you know, after we have our first one, I think the word's going to get out, and I think, you know, it's our first year, so we're really into suggestions and comments, and we are getting some, although people are also saying this is really good for a first year turnout. We have over 100 cars here, so we're pretty thrilled about it. I really didn't know what to expect, so I'm happy with this, and I think that spectator-wise, if the weather would cooperate a little bit more, and it's getting brighter all the time, and it's young in the day, so I think it's going to be great.
This couldn't be a more magnificent setting for something like this. I know that a lot of people enjoy a setting like this to go to an antique car show, and I know I've been to a few of them, and a couple of them over in Canada, where it has been this type of a setting, and this is a very enjoyable setting right here.
It really is. I mean, it's overlooking the river, and we chose this setting because there's a lot of room to expand. I mean, we have cars from one end to the other, and we have vendors at one end, and you know, there's just a lot of room to expand, and it is a beautiful setting, and people are familiar with the park, and they're commenting on what a nice setting, those that have never been here.
And you couldn't have picked a more beautiful time of year to be in this area to have a show like this, and I think that you had that on your mind when you did this.
Definitely, because this is kind of a replacement of a winter event that the weather never cooperated, and you know, even though we're getting a little bit of mist today, it's still a beautiful setting. You know, it's just a great time of year. Fall is beautiful. The trees are just barely starting. So I think this will be, I think we made a good choice in picking this setting.
Now, we think ahead a little bit. I know it's hard to think of the second annual one until the first annual one is over. But like you said, this is going to expand, and of course it will get bigger. And we do have people that do pass through this area, and they get a chance, and some of them are going to get a chance to see this. How do they go about getting a hold of you to maybe register a car or a truck for next year's event?
Well, they just need to call the chamber office at 769-3525 or mail us a little note at Post Office Box 387 in Massena, and we will be glad to put them on a mailing list for next year, because of course all the cars that are registered this year will be on our mailing list. I think probably we're going to try to pick like the second Saturday of September, and we may just keep that as our generic date just because it is a good time of year, and it's a time it kind of mixes with our other events. We have something in June and in August, so it's a good time of year to have something and still beautiful weather.
Well, Gert, thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy today with Frank and Larry. I see Larry walking around. I've seen him go by the same area a couple times here. He's really out there doing his thing, too, isn't he?
He certainly is. He's been a great help and done a great job in organizing this, so I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about it.
Gert, it can only get bigger and better when you're involved with it because you have an excellent staff, and you yourself, it's always a successful moment when the Massena Chamber of Commerce is involved with an event like this.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for those kind words, and we thank you for being here today.
Okay, Gert, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
course, knowing how I am with racing, I get a chance to go to these shows, and the first thing I want to see if there are any older road rally cars or anything like that. Well, I come over here, and there's an MG sitting here, and John Corrier, I hope that I have that right.
That's right.
From Whippleville, New York, right?
It's near Malone, yes.
Near Malone, New York, and he's got 3 beautiful cars here. And John, why don't you tell us a little bit about them? And I'm not going to hurry you along to get over to that beautiful MG that's sitting there.
This is an 85 XJ6 Vandenpla. It's a little more rare than the regular Jaguar because it has the Connolly upgraded leather interior and Carpathian walnut dash and Wilton wool carpets, opera lights. It's a California desert car, so it's unusual that it sees rain. I've restored it to its original condition. The only changes I've made were a turbo-hydromatic Chevrolet 350 instead of the Borg and Warner transmission, what makes it quite snappy. It's a twin cam overhead cam, aluminum and cast iron 6-cylinder, 4-wheel disc brakes. The car makes about 265 horsepower. It's a very quick car for its size. It's designed to run on European roads at 100 miles an hour all day long. That speed doesn't hurt them at all. Although you can hurt yourself in this country with those speeds. But it's a very reliable car, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I've owned it about 3 years. It was born and raised in Southern California.
And you're not going to see much rust on cars like this either, are you?
Well, I don't drive any of these cars in the wintertime. I have a Toyota 4-wheel drive for that.
No, the climate's a lot different here. A lot of the California cars, you're not going to see that.
Yeah, actually, this car suffered more from sandblasting than anything else. I put a new front end underneath it and use all Delrin urethane bushings, tighten up the suspension. So it's a very responsive car, and it's a nice, luxurious car to drive. And it's the last of the boat tail rear ends before they changed the body style. So it's a classic design, and this design was originated in 1968, I believe. And surprisingly, being a British car, it was not designed by British Leyland. It was actually commissioned by Pininfarina Body Design in Italy, in Milan. So it has a little Italian flair to it. But it's a nice
beautiful machine.
Yeah.
Beautiful machine.
It's a fun car. And parts aren't a problem, and it's quite reliable, actually. So
we'll move on to the next vehicle that he has, which is my favorite so far in the show. And if I was voting, he definitely would get my vote. This is an MG, and it is many rallies, and you've got some great pictures of this.
There's a difference between racing and rallying. This is a road racing automobile, so it's not really a rally car. It's set up for road racing. Yes. This is a 1959 MGA. Most people are probably familiar with the B cars, which came later. I restored this car and then got into vintage racing, so I had the car prepared. It's got a D-arch road racing springs. All of the shocks have been reworked for the rebound settings, and everything have been changed. The engine's blueprinted, balanced, bored. It makes about 100 horsepower. Car is under 2,000 pounds. Car has been set up totally for road racing, and this car has finished every race it's ever entered in the last 3 years. I race at Saint-Jovic, Quebec, at the Circuit de Mont-Tremblant. Moseport, near Toronto. This year I did Loudon, New Hampshire. Was going to race at the Collier Cup in Watkins Glen this year, but I couldn't get the day off from work. It's a very fun car to drive. It's very responsive. Again, it's quite quick as an under 2,000 cc car.
It's a champion too. We noticed that.
Well,
you've had some success with this car.
Yeah, I haven't. You know, it's in order to finish in the top 10 in these cars, you've got to have deep pockets. There are people out there spending $70,000 on a race motor, so that's not where I'm at. But I have fun with the car, and it's been reliable, and I've met a great bunch of people in vintage racing, and it's just a great sport that if anybody's interested in participating, I would encourage them to do so.
And something I'm going to encourage them to do, get in it for the fun, too.
And I might add that this is a coupe, which is different from the Roadster. There were only 711 coupes made in 1959. That was for total world production. There's probably less than 159 coupes in the world. I found this one in a barn in Boston.
Lucky.
It has aluminum doors, aluminum trunk, aluminum hood, aluminum floors. We also market, a friend of mine and I build racing radiators for MGs and eliminates cooling problems, and it's a great car.
And I noticed that it has the fuel cell that is in it has been passed by NASCAR and SCAA, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's an FIA international fuel cell, which you have to have if you're going to race vintage. You're going to have a roll cage and a fuel cell. You can't have a gas tank. You're just asking to die if you get out there with a gas tank.
Right.
So.
Well, that's great. Now, this is, as I mentioned, this is my favorite entry in the show right here. Now we move on to another one here. Just another beautiful MG.
This is a 58. I bought it in a box, restored it. It's got a brand new leather interior. It's been restored mechanically from one end to the other, and I always do the cars with urethane bushings in the suspension. It tightens everything up, get rid of the rubber stuff that's a little wishy-washy. It's a very fast road car. These cars originally came with a 1498 cc engine, which was about 68 horsepower. I put in a board balanced 63B motor, which makes about 100 horsepower, and replaced the rear end. Instead of the stock 430, I put a 390 MGB rear end, so it makes a very fast road car, being under 1,800 pounds. It's very responsive. A few little suspension tweaks, new gearboxes in both. The flywheels are lightened to 22 pounds, and both engines are balanced within tenths of a gram. This one's bored 40 thousandths over. It's got headers and some headwork, new pistons, etc., etc. Carburetor's been reworked. So it makes a fun car.
Now, you have 3 of these, and maintenance on these. About how many hours a week do you spend on these cars?
None.
Not now, anyway.
No. The big misconception with British cars is that they're finicky and they're unreliable, and that was probably true in the 50s. Parts were hard to get. I can get parts overnight for any of these cars, and the unreliability myth was simply because people didn't maintain the cars. Carburetors, they said, were a problem, the SUs. This car has been raced for 4 years now. It's finished every race. I don't do anything to it other than change the oil, grease it, and change the plugs and put Cam 2 in it when I go racing. The carburetors, once they're adjusted, they're never touched.
I know a few race drivers, I think, that want to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I have a fellow, George Emery, who lives in Bombay, who's been tuning this one, and I'm going to have him tune this one also. But the myth can be dispelled. If you maintain the car, set them up properly, and just do routine maintenance, they're very reliable cars. These cars, you mentioned rallying earlier, they did have a World Rally Championship, which I have over here on one of these cars in the history of racing with MGs. And one rally was from England to Australia, and they raced completely across the continent of Asia, through the mountain ranges and everything, and I would challenge any car today to really do that. And they actually finished these rallies. There's an interesting history of racing. A lot of people don't understand that or know that MGs, for example, broke the under 2,000 cc land speed record at Bonneville Flats in the 1950s at 245 miles an hour.
Which is an incredible speed back then.
They used a twin cam. They had a twin cam version of this motor, and that record's never been broken. They built a streamliner. They have a long and illustrious history at Sebring, certainly on European circuits. I can't remember all the other ones. They're over there on the paper, but they have a long and illustrious racing history. They're very durable cars, very tough cars.
Well, they're beautiful, beautiful cars. John, I want to thank you very much for talking with us today, and just gorgeous. And I know that there'll be a few people that will be casting their votes for you, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not really a car show person. I was just over here to do some business and sell some radiators. But this is, I don't get a chance to do the shows because I'm off racing all summer, and it's fun to meet the people and see a few British cars here. It was really nice.
Well, thank you once again, John, for taking time with us. Jim Kearns joins me now, and we're going to talk about the Cobra. And Jim, a lot of work went into this car, didn't it?
Yes, took quite a few years to build it, a little bit of money.
When you had the money to be able to keep putting into it, right?
That's right.
Now, Jim, did you buy this car as a kit and then assemble it, or is this an original here?
No, it's a kit car. First I bought the frame, and then I started putting the frame together, and I bought the engine and transmission, rebuilt them, then put them together and stuck it all in it, and bought front end parts. Everything's new in it. And then I went to Florida and picked the body up and some other parts for it and brought them back. And
just kept adding on and on and on. And about how many years did it take you to finish this thing?
No, it took about 3 years to build it.
About 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, what have you got in this for a motor? I just happened to interest me a little bit.
It's a high output 302 engine out of a 84 Mustang. Same as the transmission. It's 5-speed.
And this can put out on the highway, can it?
Oh yeah, she'll go right along.
We're safe to say we won't give any speeds out. Now, are there any extras on this car, or has it been put together in its original form, or have you put a few extras on this thing?
No, it's all Ford running gear and under it, so it's easy to maintain, and it's easy to get parts for. It's a lot of the parts are the same as they put in all the street rods today.
Tires that are on it right now, I noticed that they're not, regular size tire, of course. This is a sport tire. Would this be a standard tire for this car?
No, it's a lot bigger.
A lot bigger than this.
Wider.
Well, this is a beautiful, beautiful car. And now, gas mileage for this motor, this 302 you were talking about, estimated how many miles a gallon would you get on this?
Probably gets 15 to 20, depends how you drive it. But it gets just like the Mustangs did back then, and they got good mileage.
Okay, we're going to walk down through here because we want to take a look at every little detail we possibly can on this machine. And taking a look at the interior of this car, Jim, how do you keep the interior looking so well in this? What can you use to keep an interior of this kind looking so well?
Well, I put boat carpet in it, for one thing. So it sees a lot of rains. It's been to car shows with rain, and it just use a wet and dry vac and vacuum it up, and I got vinyl seats because they're easy to maintain, whereas a lot of them they put leather in, and rain does a number on them.
Yeah, it sure does, and it's hard to keep up an interior like this. And you've got an open vehicle, so it's exposed to the weather all the time on this. Now, shows, Jim, have you been to a lot of shows with it this year?
No, I haven't. I haven't had much time this year, but it's previously, last year, I hit a few shows. I think I've hit 4 shows this year.
Beautiful, beautiful. We were talking before off camera, if the Kearns name sounds familiar to you, remember Jeff that used to race the 96 car there. This is Jeff's brother, Jim. And Jim, thanks again for taking time out to talk to us about the Cobra.
Thank you.
There are not too many car shows you're going to go to without seeing somewhere along the line a 55 Chevy. And joining me now is Mr. DeVita, and you have done a very good job on restoring these, and I'll tell you, they don't make them like this anymore, do they?
No, they don't. They're one of a kind.
Now, of course, these two vehicles came out the year before I was born, but I can remember seeing a lot of these on the roads when I was about 4 or 5 years old. People kept them around because they kept a long time.
Yes, they did. They hold their age, and they hold it well. They're made with good steel.
Now, about how long did it take you to restore both of these machines?
This one here is mine. It took me 6 months, 7 days a week, from 9 in the morning until whenever I stopped, and that could be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Now, as I remember on these, they had a pretty good sized gas tank on these things.
Oh yes, it's pretty good size. Well, that engine you got.
It was almost like the size of the trucks that brought the gasoline to the gas stations, weren't they?
That's for sure. Yep, they're good size in there. Yep.
Now, the original colors, are these the original colors of both of these cars?
Nope, I somewhat invented this color. I put pearls inside it, and that burgundy color changes 7 different times.
Now, we're going to walk along here because we want to make sure that we get a chance to see the interior of these cars. And some of the dashboards, as we're looking at them right now, back then it was almost like, if you look at them now in comparison with the ones you have today, it almost was like you were flying an airplane or something, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I like the chrome that they put on these. These were dashboards. These are cars that are made. I can remember when September came along and the unveiling, everybody was excited to see the different styles of the cars, and I liked it. I can remember the old commercials.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, these are one of my favorite classic cars to see at a car show, because I don't think there are very many you can go to without seeing a 55 Chevrolet, is there?
No, they're a prestigious car as far as I'm concerned. I'm kind of partial. I'm a GM person, but they are beautiful cars. All these cars are beautiful.
Oh, they are, and there's a lot of work went into them. And we want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us about both of these beautiful cars.
Why, thank you.
Mosier's Custom Trim Shop offers you experience, expert attention to detail, and a staff of professional restylers ready to make your vehicle look new again. Beautify your boat with new canvas or a new canvas for your convertible. Get your car, truck, or van ready for the show with a new paint job. Tunnel covers, soft or hard. Pinstriping, glass tinting, or a powered rear window for the truck owners. Or how about a new sunroof? Business people and campers, how about a new awning prepared and installed by our professionals? Handicapped accessories including wheelchair lifts. Antique car lovers, Rick specializes in complete restoration of your old gems. Everything from body, upholstery, and dash. Old is new again. Call Rick Mosier today and make an appointment to discuss your dream vehicle. Mosier's Custom Trim Shop, Route 56, Massena. This program was sponsored in part by Dairy Queen, 85 Parker Avenue in Massena.
Imagine a kitchen so stylish